Sub 170 of the lumber word. Go ahead, Greg. What were you going to say now?
I was going to say that, and Matt probably saw this when he was at Westbury's presentation. They're all in on SpaceX. I mean, they've been buying it since the like for the last 5 years. Every time it was available, in the secondary market. So that's probably going to be pretty good for them, I think.
Yeah, it's just I think it's going to be decent. It may drop, but who cares? It's like lumber. How good is everybody at picking the bottom? I'm not.
The only way you pick the bottom, buy every day.
You can
Buy
pick
every day.
Yeah. What do they say? You can pick your friends and you can pick your bottom, but you can't pick your friend's bottom. Is that what it is? Is that how it goes?
Why do you, man? I wish we didn't go live yet.
yeah. Really, you want rewind?
Hey,
We've
edit
been
that
on
part
for a
out.
couple of weeks, have we? Did you guys do this last week when I wasn't here?
We did not. This is
We were on strike.
yeah, we went on writer's
We're
strike.
in solidarity with the CBS News employees.
Oh yeah, boy. I mean, that's some tough stuff over there. Somebody's like, taking they got to take a hard look at themselves.
So hey, Greg and I were both out traveling. I would say I was looking at lumber, but I looked at some flat ground with some gravel on it, a new reload in Chicago.
The CP
I
one?
I saw a lot of lumber yesterday. So I was up in Buffalo, and I mean, the 1 yard, we were moving from 1 yard, and we've got 2 yards there. One we're closing, and the other, and so we had to do some cleanup stuff there. I will have some low grade lumber for sale once I figure out exactly what the tally is. But I went to the other reload, and I'm like going, hey man, can we get our cars in and get them unloaded? They're like, everybody wants their cars in and unloaded. I go, well, what's the problem? We unload 12 to 15 cars a day. I'm like, oh, okay, great. We have 70 cars constructively placed and 200 inbound to us right now. I'm going, so you're telling me new cars I buy today, the soonest they'll get unloaded is like 5 weeks from now? Yes.
And that's in Buffalo. So a lot of people don't understand this unless they're, doing a lot of rail cars over the top. But the Canadians shipping lumber from the West over the top through Canada, that car never makes it into the United States. It just at the very end, when it drops down on the CN line into Buffalo, it's a fast haul from like a West Fraser mill or a Babine over to Buffalo. It's like a 2-week haul. And then it's going to sit there for another week or 2 or 3 until the reload can get it off the CP and get it into their that's a problem.
It's basically 2 to 3 weeks after it gets there until it gets unloaded.
Yeah.
Reloaded cars the same day to go to Florida. They were unloaded on what, Monday, Ash? Monday or Tuesday?
They were on the same train that left. Same train that left out of Canada.
And the Buffalo ones still aren't in the yard.
For people that don't do the reloading game, that's a problem. That's what we call a problem.
It had to make 3 switches on railroads, unloaded in Cocoa, Florida. And it was on the same train that left the Canadian mill that shipped cars that went to Buffalo that are sitting outside of Buffalo.
The question, I guess, is why is Buffalo so popular all of a sudden?
I think it's always been a good spot. And listen, I looked at this yard. I mean, they had 30 plus million feet of lumber on the ground. They're shipping 60 trucks out a day. So they've got 30 days worth of inventory. It's a really well run reload. We're happy to be there. We just kind of get our ducks in a row a little bit, but it's all good. It's all good.
I mean, it's a tough game. I was out with the shout out to Aero Transportation Systems. Tanner was showing me their new spot in Chicago. Nice location. And it was good to check out to see what they were doing.
Is that the new CP one?
Well, it's going to be CP, open CN. It's on the Indiana rail line. It used to be an old reload at one point years ago. So we walked around down there. It was a great, looks like it's going to be a great piece of property. To throw a couple hundred cars in.
Got
But you have to talk to G Money.
What's going to be their unload time frame?
We're shipping. We had to divert cars to their current one.
We diverted a bunch of cars to Chicago, right? Yeah,
because they're unloading them right away, and we're shipping trucks out. And I mean, you can't, earns and turns. Your cars sit that long at a place. It costs you money, right?
Yep.
An opportunity.
But that's why Greg went up there. So hopefully they get that stuff. But they did pull a bunch of cars in, all the ones we didn't need this morning.
Yeah, he sent me a video of like the train pushing all the cars in. Oh yeah, great. What are those? And it's like 7 cars that I'm like, yeah, I don't need any of those. I need the 7 that I gave you the car numbers for. But thank you. We'll
That's not how it works, buddy.
So
they just take first in line.
Exactly. That's why I just said, hey, thanks for these, and maybe tomorrow we'll get the ones that I really need.
So interesting market between the structural changes in trucking transportation. Yep, I said it. Structural changes, not just a seasonal thing. It's structural, right, Charles? Does that make sense?
You're 110% correct.
Yeah. So
in my humble opinion.
Yeah. So we're trying to, talking to a couple of guys that buy. They still have some, brokers and stuff that shipped them stuff based on hoping the freight would drop and not getting their shipments. I mean, I think we're kind of at the point now where we're trying, I think people are having a hard time pricing in the new freight, traders in their head. I think they always think about what the freight used to be and they try to put another number on it, but they don't. And I think everybody's coming to the conclusion they have to now, because it just drops your profit margin over time. And I mean, I haven't seen any relief on trucking yet. I've seen slowdowns that feel like relief, and then maybe it's done accelerating. What are you guys seeing out there?
I think the rates have kind of stabilized at higher numbers than they were, but I feel like we've seen a little more availability, depending on certain lanes are still more problematic than others, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're definitely lane specific now. And so the closer you can keep your lumber to where you're unloading it, the better, right?
They're little micro economies.
Yeah,
anything within 250 miles, it's really expensive, but people will pay it. But when you get outside of that 250, 300 mile radius, especially in pine, it gets expensive quick when you're only loading 24,000 foot.
Out west here, Charles, a lot of the guys, and we're vaguely aware of what yellow pine does, even though we don't have a trading function with yellow pine yet. I mean, after we open up the sawmill, I'm sure that'll change. But in the short term, we just compare yellow pine mainly to Doug fir, because they're kind of like both strong species, and they're used in apartment jobs. Like a lot of bids come across your desk, be yellow pine or Doug fir in one or the other. You can't use spruce or hemp for strength reasons. Anyhow, so that's the level of engagement we have in yellow pine. We're aware of what the prices are doing, and all the guys in the office talk about the last 2 months how yellow pine went down, and so it put a little bit of fear, a slight bit of trepidation into Western species, but really over the last 2 months, it's had virtually no effect, because the price of Western species has just pretty much stayed within a $10 or $20 range the whole time. And what people don't understand, which you've been talking about for 2 months now, is the logistical side of yellow pine. So even though the FOB mill prices came down and you could go out and buy some good investment level type stuff on 2x4 and 2x6, your actual end user price delivered to your yard and the amount of time it took for it to get to your yard is not good, right? It's like,
it's a zero net. It's a zero net change.
Basically, the mills are just eating the freight now.
And when you talk about, pine giving off as far as pricing goes, all that happened is a premium on print. And now we're back to a position where mills are wanting $10 to $15 over again, just because they're, they, quite frankly, they're trying to build that into their freight cost as well. And they're also pushing people to non-CPU, like the mill has to control the whole supply chain. Luckily, we're not in that position with 99.9% of the relationships we have, but the delivered basis and the true cost of doing business has not changed from, $570 two before
It
60.
just basically changed
I mean,
the freight calculations are now being absorbed by the sawmills.
So here's an interesting, Charles, you and I talked about it. I actually talked to one of the pine mills and then a handful of other people. When you think about it, most southern pine mills, they're made to take in fiber to produce within 100, maybe 200-mile radius of that mill. The fiber comes in, whether it's gatewood or
it's about 110 mile radius.
110 miles. And they have a small footprint, 20 acres. I'd say most mills. Maybe there's some bigger ones, but about 20. They ship 80% of their stuff on trucks, 20% on cars. And all of a sudden, they all decided, a bunch of them, that I want to ship more on cars and less on trucks to try to make up for that freight difference. Well, stacking wood in the sheds and not shipping trucks and not getting your allocation of cars causes a couple things to happen. One, you fill up your property full of lumber that you haven't shipped that's sold, and two, you can't produce as much. And southern pine mills, in my opinion, can push the clutch in a lot faster than anybody else because they can shut they're not like a big Pacific Northwest mill or a Canadian mill where they have to stack wood after the winter and they stack a big log deck. They got to come in 24/7. And now they just tell, the guys bringing in gatewood, yeah, we'll give you, what is it, $10 a ton or whatever, Charles, or $100 a ton or something instead of.
Well, I mean, all they got to do is change the price of gatewood, and then the logger's going to try and find somewhere else to go with it.
So I've been told
Right.
some of the pine mills have slowed production, and I mean, you basically it seems like you don't want to, but it seems like it's something that they have to do because they can't get shipped what they want to. So back to Matt's point is, what's that going to do with the spruce and southern pine spread? Because now we're seeing people. I imagine a line going across the middle of, let's say, or the top of PA all the way over to the ocean, and then it's moving lower and lower as the prices got higher on trucks, where you can actually get.
I mean, it's probably your spruce line that you're describing is probably to the top of Virginia by now.
Yeah. So
you were thinking Mason-Dixon line. Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
We're thinking that.
It's
Okay.
but it's so what effect is that going to have on all the other species if pine all of a sudden has gone back to its traditional 150-mile shipping radius from its production point? Because,
well, first of all, it's not going to work. It's not. I mean, that people are just going to have to pay for it. I mean, prime example. I mean, y'all send cars into Florida, and you bring in European spruce into Florida.
correct.
90% of commercial job, 99% of commercial jobs in Florida are southern yellow pine, right? So you have to be in a position to, I guess, afford or understand the dynamic to pay up for that product, right? Number one, first and foremost. The biggest hurdle, Ash, is if spruce does not appreciate through this process.
And it is
but it should, right? I mean, theoretically, if you think about it, if freight rate to Indianapolis, Indiana used to be $85 and it's now $155, and we went from, at today's numbers, call it $570, $80 delivered to $650, $660. You've got a big change, and your spruce, your species, whether it's North American in general, should be able to, quite frankly, kick us out of the market share that we have been able to obtain over the past 3 years. And
so it's good. You and I talked about this a couple times this week on the phone. So I was in a Lowe's store this weekend, picking up some treated pine. I noticed Canfor's got a whole bunch of 2x8, 2x10, 2x12 sitting in Lowe's. How do they change their prices to Lowe's or Home Depot or these other places on the contract for freight? How do they adjust it? Do they adjust it quarterly, or what's going to happen? It's not just everybody. Treaters up in the north, like, do they adjust their freight quarterly when they ship that pine up there?
Well, I'd imagine when they negotiate those contracts, they have a 90%, dependency on cars, right? Like, hey, this is, print plus here's my car rate.
Yeah,
right?
true.
So if they're doing that, the treater or the distribution yard for that store or whatever the case may either be shipping it direct from a railroad owned reload or their own rail spur, right? But the third option is that if somebody like any of the Southern Yellow Pine guys that may be shipping via car to the north on those contracts, if they can't get the flat car, they're getting smoked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely. I mean, you're talking about when you look at car freight versus truck freight up to those regions, instead of it being up 100%, it's up 130 to 40%.
They're most likely double handling that wood, Ash, where it goes into a concentration yard on a rail
That
line.
makes sense. Yeah.
And then that yard is a huge facility, and that becomes a function of the retailer themselves putting their own trucks to move it to the different stores that they control in that region.
In part,
I mean, Ash, to your point, I mean, like whatever, like, contractual arrangements, it's just the same as like, hey, we sold lumber 3 weeks ago, or and the freights went up 50%. March and April, we ate a huge amount of money as the freights adjusted. I mean, end users don't appreciate, I know a lot of end users, hey, where's my truck? And we worked really, really hard to get caught up and paid up a lot of money. And, I mean, from a customer service standpoint, but, whether it's that or, or a multifamily job contract, we don't have any clause in there that says, hey, we're going to increase for freight rates if it goes up. And, I would think that, VMI type contracts that are delivered to yards, probably don't either. That'll get flushed out.
I think you're wrong. Sorry.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's a quarterly thing. So, the modern contracts are written where every contract that I've done, whether I'm the seller or the buyer, because I've got several, it's a quarterly review and a 30-day out written. So if somebody wants to cancel a contract or modify a contract, then you've got to give 30 days written notice and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's usually a quarterly review on freight. Hardly ever gets dealt with. Almost always gets ignored, right? I mean, rarely does it actually get implemented. So,
well, I think that's really what Greg was trying to say, though, right? Is like it's been such a non-issue for so long. Now, all of a sudden, it's the only issue.
I mean,
right?
it's a smaller issue on rail. I mean, here the last two.
I'm talking about.
I'm gonna get there. Sorry, I'm just going around about here. I'm doing what's that thing Trump does where he goes wandering off in the wilderness? He comes back. They call it the swirl or something. But anyhow, on the rail side, yeah, freights are really up here, about $15 to $20 a thousand in the last like 60 to 90 days. We've had two different increases due to, one just time of year base rate increases, but then we've had a couple of fuel surcharge increases too, because diesel prices have gone up, due to the war.
I always like the way the railroad increases like the price of the freight on like one car, but how much the diesel costs for the whole train. It's.
I'm just saying. I mean, yeah, the real freight.
It's a percentage basis.
I'd say on average, real freight's up $15 a thousand per car. That's about $1,800. Okay, on a rail car.
Because what if they increase?
That's real money.
That's kind of inexpensive,
Chicago,
though.
Chicago, Western Spruce, they've increased that rate $8 a thousand in the last few months. That's about it, right? From used to be 113, now they figure 121.
Maybe it's undervalued. Maybe it hasn't absorbed all the real increase.
Texas, Dallas.
I'm just saying that's a reported number, right?
Yeah, but you can take the difference. We can take delivery of that, right?
Like my Texas rates from Prince George region used to be 120-ish, 125. Now they're 135 to 140. So you're talking 15 roughly. I'm just saying 15. But the trucking thing, if you add an extra $300 a truck, well, that's another $1,200 a rail car because you get 4 trucks per car. So I would say I'm paying about $200 to $350 more per truck. And this is just trucking within a 200-mile radius from where the wood is. Those are all real costs.
So up to 200 miles, you're only getting $200 over a historic rate. That's really
No,
damn
here's a good
man.
one. Like
Seriously.
Fort Worth to San Antonio used to be 750, 800. Now it's 1100, 1150. So there you go. And it's stable at that. I mean,
But you're
it hasn't
dealing
gone
with
up
all,
anymore.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like that's very reminiscent of our Raleigh, North Carolina triad run, right? I mean, historically we were $700 to $800, and now it's $1,100 to $1,200.
so
Yeah.
Charles, I want to dig. So we'll jump to some other species in a second. But pine, like the cynic in me says, there is no way that these big mills, Southern pine producers, are going to lose market share once they've built it. They may not sell brokers and wholesalers a certain price, but they're going to make sure it gets up north in one way, shape, or form at a price. It may not be the print price, but it's going to be a price. And you and I may not see that price, but they don't care. They're going to.
But here's
Whoa,
the thing,
time
though.
out,
They'll
time out.
sell
Like, isn't the mill's job to get the best
return
they can,
no matter who it is.
And you know, like
that's
we've
a
seen
speech
this,
I've been getting for 4 months.
we've
I
seen
would
this, like companies that have a sales policy that's other than that don't do as well as companies that say, hey, we produce a commodity product and our goal is to get the best mill return every single day. The companies that look and go, hey, I want to sell this particular customer this particular way, their returns aren't as good historically.
But Ash, that's I like where your head's at as far as a contrarian thought, right? Because there's something to that, but it all has to do with car availability. Yeah. Like there's going to be times where mills are going to say, okay, our allocation, we're caught up and we're not selling any open market cars. We're only shipping contract cars. Yeah. Or they're going to put a parameter in there. Hey, if you want to buy this for 3 to 4 weeks out, here's a price premium. And if you want it on cars, there's another potential bucket that you're going to have to dip into.
Yeah.
But to your point, I don't think it would be open market purchases as much as they would be leaning and pushing into the contractual obligations, that they already have, right? Because if you're talking about an Alabama mill, doesn't matter who it is, to Indiana, freight rate $70 to $85 historically, right? On a truck. Rail car from southern central Alabama up there, no switch, $50 to $65 right now. Truck rate, $150. So what they'll do is they'll blend it, and when they buy open market, it's just a cause and effect of what's going on. But once again, it goes back to what does Spruce do in response to this outside of laying down like it has over the past 5 months? Because we need Spruce and other North American species to react, right? Or we're going to be the price leader, and that's not going to be very good for us when you start going into those secondary markets.
It seems to be reacting right now if you look at the futures board.
Yeah.
Well, and to that point is like, I mean, if you think about the second late last year, we had that point where the U.S. species hemper, we were delivering hemper on the contract, and those prices were tight. And you're looking at like today, Matt, 2x4 hemper delivered Chicago, what,
610
to 625, depending on tally and perceived value.
And you got the futures market. Well, this morning it was what, 590. It's
605.
It's up a little bit today, so they've closed that spread somewhat. I was looking at the futures, and we had been in a really tight range, and I was kind of feeling like the last 4 to 6 weeks basically has felt like it's been pretty much a sideways market. I mean, there's been a few things that have had some relative strength in that we trade 2x4, 2x4 8-footers, 2x4 10-footers,
2x6 104 and 5/8,
2x6 9s, 2x6 10s, and I look at, the market had been coiling for a move, and it's just starting this move. I think I've been on record, thinking that, hey, the high of the year is going to be sometime in mid-July. I'm actually, and I just want for everybody to understand, I am definitely talking my position. I don't want anybody to be confused by it. I am bulled up. I am.
How many years have been doing this, Greg?
A couple anyhow so far. I just continue to see less lumber being made. Demand is, it is steady at worst. And, once we kind of get into, once we burn the forest down and, we got fire, we got, wildfires going and the summer shutdowns. I still think that there's a lot of second and third quarter multifamily business that's hanging out there. So yeah, I've now pushed my high of the year out to mid-late August, early September.
What are you thinking number wise on that one? We still going like the 725 area?
Right, right now I'm like, hey, spruce 2x4s is 700, pick your, I mean, and it's Josh, you and I were talking, is the reason why our hedge is so low is 2x4 spruce is the undervalued item right now.
Yeah.
Everything else is higher valued than that.
And the cost to carry is not built into the back month. So why bother?
Right.
Right. I mean, like in a normal situation, you're starting to look at September, November as decent sales, but you would, in the years past, you'd pick up 40 or 50 or 60. Now you pick up 7 in September and 15 in November. That's not worth it. It costs more to just store it for that time frame. So rather just
Charles had a good point, and I was thinking about this. I was trying to get my head of why would pine move? It should, but then I'm like, what's going to happen? We're going to go back out to that spread we had at the end of Q2 or into Q3 of last year of $200 spruce to SPF to get some kind of movement to start pulling pine pine along. And
well, to the point is, the freight has had a bigger impact on pine for the medium to longer haul than it has on spruce. And so while delivered prices on pine are a lot higher than the quote unquote market like mill price would represent to people.
But it's like crazy. I quoted a guy, told a bunch of MSR and spruce yesterday, and he said his guys came back and bought, this is into the northern Ohio market, $50 to $60 better on pine. I'm like, okay,
maybe carload,
maybe, but like what I'm saying is it's putting pressure on people to really look at different things. So Charles, you wanted to say something when Greg was talking. What was your thought on that?
What else?
I forgot.
Man, you're too young to forget shit like that.
I answered 3 emails and checked the freight rate all the time where y'all were talking.
Well, all right. So are we kind of like so Charles, give us an example of like where's 2x4 6.
I want to piggyback on what you just said though for a second.
Okay, go ahead.
So I quoted some stuff up to the Midwest, and I use truck freight because worst case scenario, things happen, jobs, everybody knows how it works, right?
Yeah.
Everybody understands that car allocation is tight. You take a 20%, rail car industry and try to turn it into a 50 to 60%. Nobody's going to have any cars, and you don't know when you're going to get them. And when you get them, you're going to use them for the lowest sale price item you have, right? So I mean,
you're not going to take them in order the orders were taken. You're going to be selective. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. You don't do that, Greg?
No, we're agnostic. Hey, oldest order, ship it first. That doesn't matter.
Yeah. Right. Anyway.
Or the person that just most recently asked
called me. You this morning.
Who was the last person that asked me? Oh yeah, that's the one that's hot.
Yeah. So anyway, quoted a bunch of stuff in the Midwest and used truck freight. Worst case scenario, wanted to be covered. I was told that my price would depend. Now, keep in mind, this is stuff that's in Q4. Okay. I was told my price was $180 too high.
Above today's market.
No, of the price he got quoted for the same time frame.
Did a mill quote him?
I doubt it.
Highly doubt
that. Not going to quote Q4.
So why didn't he just? He should double.
I told him he should buy it. Is what I told him. If they're willing to sell you at that number, you need to buy it all. I don't care if it comes from carrier pigeons, rail cars, dinosaurs. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just an observation.
Yeah.
This whole discussion we've been having for the last 20 minutes, it just makes me think that the winners and the losers at the end of the year on this whole thing are going to be the people that understand and are good at freight. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're a company or an individual, you know, this is a lesson I got taught 30 some years ago when I was a rookie. Somebody told me, look, if you want to be good at this business, you better know what your freight is, right? You better know your customers, better know their freight. Well, that's stuck in my head for a long time, but now it's never been more true. I mean, you can't just roll in and every day quote a bunch of stuff and guess what the freight is and have no idea what time frames you're talking about. And your customers are going to hate your guts if you sell them things and then can't ship it, right? And then all of a sudden, you, instead of just saying, hey, I can't ship it, I don't know when I can ship it, you make up a bunch of excuses. It makes you look even worse. And so, look, don't be that guy. You want some free advice? Just live with the parameters of what's available to us right now in the trucking industry and in the rail side, and just be honest with people and just tell them. And the secondary conclusion to that is the people that have prompt wood are the winners.
Yeah, Matt, 100%.
Yeah, because we're quoting 3 weeks on prompt wood.
No,
that's fine. That might be the
the
promptest thing you can get.
Like quoting,
right?
Well, you know, they're quoting 2 weeks to a lot of places, but like, you know, tomorrow 2 weeks will be the week of the 22nd, and you know, to a handful of places we're going to be the 29th.
Well, if you're a mill or a trading company and you've got wood that can ship in a week on a rail car or sooner, it's not a liability.
That's 5 weeks out.
You know, markets and everything in life always have a really comical way, in a way you never saw coming, of playing out. I mean, at the end of last year, we never had on our dance card that we'd have this situation in freight, but now it's here, right?
It's unknown.
It's one of those things that happened.
It's a black swan event.
And everybody was like, the market's going to zero and nobody's going to build houses. So the other winners in this one were the people that kind of were contrarian, and when there was any pullback in pricing and people wanted to move lumber, they bought it and put it on the ground when nobody else wanted to. I mean, you know how much lumber we're buying right now? Not a lot, because we've been buying for the last month and a half, right? I mean, we're buying some stuff, but I will tell you, if you haven't bought lumber, I can speak on the spruce, probably eastern and western side. If you haven't bought lumber to cover you out at least the next 4 months, I don't know what you're doing sitting at your desk.
But there's nobody out there anymore that can buy 4 months worth of lumber.
And God bless them, because now, I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, you know, like most retailers are probably in the
45 days,
45 to 60 day range, right? You know, a few maybe pushed out. You know, I mean, you know, if you're somebody that I talk to every day, I've been, you know, chirping that you got to be out at 90 days. So, you know, you might have a little bit more. But yeah.
You had, Greg, you had one guy, I was listening to you talking to somebody today, and if I heard him right, he was saying, because you had him on speaker, that every time he tries to get his retail locations running out of these certain reloads, he tries to get it up to a certain thing, he turns around the next week and it's depleted.
Right.
And
yeah, I mean, I think the reality you know, here's a couple of observations. I mean, everybody keeps being surprised that, you know, oil's hanging in at 90. You know, I could build a case that, you know, there's a better chance that oil trends down towards 60 than it goes back over 100 at this point.
I would love to hear that, actually.
Housing has been, you know, while we look at the numbers and it's like they're basically sideways numbers, there's, you know, that's with all this negative backdrop that exists, right? I mean, what's the surprise? What would happen if end use housing construction were to ramp 10% better? Where would prices be then?
And
where would prices be then?
And oil went to 150. And oil went to 150.
What's that?
and oil went to $150 a barrel.
No. Well, those two things aren't going to happen simultaneously
because of the skirmish, not a war. It's just a skirmish.
No, but I'm just saying is like here's the here's the thing that nobody's factored in. What if what if end use consumption is better in the second half of the year?
I mean, at the beginning of the year, my whole plan was to get to now, right? I figured
you're
the
here.
first, I thought the first half of the year would be frothy for the things that I do, and that turned out to be true in hindsight. So luckily for me, my plan worked. And then my other plan was to just hold on for dear life in the second half of the year. But right now, as I sit here, it feels a hell of a lot better than that. I mean, a hell of a lot better. I'm not talking just a marginal amount better. I'm getting quotes and orders, and I've got things going on with sawmills, and I've got customers running out of things and asking me about this and that. I mean, there's definitely more of a pulse to it on June 4th than I would have expected, right? Especially we just went through a 3-day weekend, and those 3-day weekends tend to be market changers. Well, we went into the market kind of already on a baby upswing, and we're coming out of it on even more of an upswing this week. If you look at what futures is telling you and what the Dow Jones did today and all these other things that are going on, and then just the general amount of activity in the room on Western species is still at a really high level for what a lot of times could be a dead week, after a Memorial Day.
And Matt, I could tell you, like, this is not, as my buddy Dave in Iowa says, this is not being braggadocious. We can't sell any more trucks. We're maxed right now.
I'm still taking orders though. Don't worry.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's like we are at like peak, and I'm always amazed at how much inquiry we can always say. We can tons of inquiry, but how many orders we're actually shipping now? I mean, how much is out there? So is that because the traditional brokers aren't getting the same look? There's not as many people. I just don't think there's as much wood sitting around on the ground.
I think a lot of the
people
before. that you historically competed with, whether that be sawmills putting wood on the ground to avoid a tariff or front run it or something like that, or Europeans bringing in extra wood, or other outside brokers, third parties, distribution guys. I think that the volume of inventory that they're controlling right now has shrunk significantly year over year. And I also think that the number of people that actually want to be actively long, like you and Greg have expressed here over the last month and a half, and Greg's a bull and you're a bull, and you guys have the bullets that you've been firing on the ground, right? So you're probably just going to get a bunch of orders by default because you might be the only quote. Whereas last year at this time, you might have been competing with 4 or 5 other quotes, and they could have been multiple species from multiple different avenues, right? Could have been some Euro, could have been some traditional wholesale back-to-back business, could have been another inventory player that you were competing with. But I think a lot of those guys just don't have it. And maybe they don't want to, maybe they don't want to invest again. Like it's June, so they don't want to.
There's no question that the pipeline, Matt, is leaner than it has been over the last couple of years. That is true. There's no question about it.
I'm going to be down in Texas again on Thursday next week, and I'm going to have a day and a half of driving around looking at inventory. So, I'll have a real clear picture from that next week. Unless we do the show Wednesday next week, I won't be able to do it Thursday or Friday. I'll be in San Antonio.
We'll be available on Wednesday because we need you for your mind.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, just looking at all the stuff going. Kip is out sitting on his little archipelago and his little island out there.
Vancouver Island,
kicking back.
Vancouver Island.
No, he's on a smaller one. So while he's drinking his coconut water out of it, sitting there, I know they don't have coconuts there. He sent me over a good breakdown the other day, and I'm not going to get the exacts of this, but when you look at year over year over year and where we're trending toward in total Canadian shipments and European shipments, how much of that softwood spruce it makes up coming into North America, I think over the last year, what would you say the percentage is? It's down now between Canada, BC, and everybody. And I'm talking about also going into these, with these small mills being down right now. I'm having a hard time thinking that construction, new family, repair and remodel, multifamily is down commensurate with that percentage. So back to all of our points, Charles and everybody, something's got to give with spruce. And my feeling is it's got to move significantly to the upside. Or people got to start producing more and shipping more in, and that's probably not going to happen.
Not in Canada. I mean, the math's still against them. The Western mills could, but I'm not so sure that, that they want to. You got to go out and hire more crews. They might add a couple hours and maybe work on a Saturday or if the numbers get real frothy. But right now, the numbers aren't so frothy for the sawmills in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Montana, California that there's an incentive to go out and start buying more logs, which drives your log prices up, which means that your ending up price needs to go up too, right? If you're going to invest in more logs and start paying for more labor. There's another problem out here that nobody knows about except for me, probably because I'm out here. There's a chip plant over in Longview, Washington that
chemical explosion that
blew
terrible.
up. Yeah. And that chip plant absorbs a lot of chips, residuals from all the area sawmills in Oregon and Southern Washington. And it's going to potentially, I don't know the details yet, but they're shut down. And so if you're buying truckloads of whole logs, like, chip logs or just chip byproduct from sawmills, and the sawmills have been using you for 30 years as a way to get rid of their residuals. Charles knows this because he knows mills. A lot of you guys don't know much about mills, but mills have to get rid of their residuals, their sawdust, their chips, their bark, everything needs to be accounted for. Mills don't waste product, even the residuals. And when the price goes to zero and the liquidity goes to zero for your residuals, you've got a real problem. You can't run your sawmill anymore. You're forced to shut down. So that's in the background right now out here in Oregon and Washington. Not sure what it's going to do, but it's an unknown. It's a known unknown right now, Greg, as you like to talk about. That could throw a real monkey wrench into Hemfer and Doug First Stud and Dimension production out of the northwest corner of the country.
So, I mean, right now, I know, where's the last on the board right now? On
605 currently.
605.
935 volume traded, over 10% of the contract traded hands today.
Wow. I mean, and where's this 4-inch market right now to Chicago spruce?
Right, Matt? There, 605, 610.
605. So it's keeping.
I mean, that's a hem fur market. Yeah, I mean, we'll do spruce. That's
what we're selling.
That's where spruce is.
We took some 595s, last week or earlier in the week, but yeah, 605, 610 is the new and working price.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to mention too, Kip was saying, a few other people, the fuel of all the short funds in the market and how much they have sitting there. And if they ever decided, if it ran to jump out, I don't know how much that's ever really happened.
I mean, listen, we've been moving sideways. We've got a bit of a breakout here.
There's been nothing yeah, you're right.
There's on the like when you look at the chart and you look back, you go, wow, that's as tight a range as you ever get for that period of time. So you just started to move. I mean, a couple of key points. I mean, there's a big gap in the July contract. Where was that gap?
613 to 15 or 610 to 615.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the first target. And then we'll see. Like I said, I mean, I say it has an upside target of like 680 to 700.
I mean, are we going to see 625 to 630 by tomorrow, you think, on the board?
No, I mean, I think if you run up into the gap, then you're going to consolidate those gains for a little while. And then the next move would be, up that would be the next move. I think you probably could be between 630 and 640 in front of 4th of July holiday, maybe, you know?
Yeah. Charles, what's the Southern Pine contract doing right now? Is it just?
It was up 7 last time I looked at it. I gotta close my trading platform when I do this because my internet sucks, so I can't look at it. But I mean, liquidity is still lackluster. I know that.
Yeah.
I think it traded 10 or 15 times today, 20 times, 40 times, something like that. I don't know. It's we need to. I actually have a StoneX SYP conference thing next week in Charlotte.
Why don't you buy some contracts right now while we're just sitting here?
I have a
Just
question
click it.
for the group.
Yeah.
Because you guys have this totally different perspective on this one particular SKU that I'm curious about. What is happening in yellow pine and eastern spruce on 2x6, 104 and 5/8 right now?
I got my theory. So, 2x4, 104 and 5/8. So is it okay if I jump in on this one? Because this is
Go for it.
so when I look at all my overvalued, undervalued charts and my hedge charts and my absolute value charts, I look for a couple different things, right? I look at items that are undervalued. I look at items that are overvalued. And then the one thing I always fail to do is look at how much is produced, right? So 2x4, 104 and 5/8, big consumed item, but a big production item, right? Every mill makes it. Every mill makes a lot of them. So my theory on 9-footers is, back to a year ago when I was talking, I think there's still a big push to build these energy efficient homes. And the one way to do it is with 6-inch walls. I think that this is just a guess. If you look at the production of 2x6 9-footers and 2x4 104, there's about 4 units of 104 is produced of 2x4 for every 1 unit of 2x6 104 and 5/8 produced. And I'm just throwing that out there. So when it is really undervalued and it breaks loose and it goes, it continues to run. I mean, and again, I'm going to talk our position. We bought every car that we could find available for the last month and a half that came up, even to a point where I thought I was paying $25 a thousand more than the previous buy type of thing. And hell, I bought some out of the West stud grade Friday because somebody sold them $100 under the Eastern market to me because Western Print is printing 2x4 and 2x6 9-foot studs at a huge discount to Eastern studs, and they don't know what they have, so we bought as many as we could find, right?
Yeah.
Thank
What
you.
about you, Charles?
I mean, as far as I don't
Yellow
really
pine
know.
2x6 9s. Is there a trend developing on them that you can see?
No, it's sporadic. I mean, one
Okay.
minute. I mean, when you start looking at primary producers, there's some that have lead times. There's some that are $20 higher than they were last week, and then the $20 dissipates. Then, you can't truck it from any of these major manufacturers to the Mid-Atlantic or the Carolinas. So the price spread is pretty dramatic. I mean, we sold some over $750 studs into Pennsylvania and New Jersey this week, and
2x6.
yeah, I don't know if we're going to make any money because freight's so expensive.
And
That's incredible.
And we're selling 705 on stud grade.
I sold 7
on stud grade. Stud
2x4
grade
or
on
2x6?
2x6. We started out last week was 2, and then they're probably up higher than that now. And
2x6, into the southeast right now, 765, 775.
Yeah, and you can buy hem fur for a lot less than that.
So I mean, look at
we've seen some people in some markets that that have had the option to go to hem, that have particularly, like they were going heavy on the 2x4 8s, but that seems to have cleaned up.
And the 2x4
well, the reason why I asked the
2x4
question was
9s,
because
too.
I have not seen this much 2x6 9-foot rail car inquiry on my inbox all year.
Yeah.
And in the last 4 trading days, it's just blowing up with car after car after car. People want me to quote 2x6 9s. And they've been an afterthought out west here. Really, everybody has been focused on 2x4 9s and 2x4 8s, like you just alluded to, Greg. That's been the big momentum and volume.
What are 2x6 9-foot hem fur delivered into the southeast right now? What's the market price?
Mid to high 600s, I'm guessing. They're not in the sevens. No.
What would they be? What would they be into Chicago?
I don't know. I'll talk to you after the show, but
Yeah,
I don't know off the top of my head. I have to look at the
Yeah.
sales list, but
yeah,
I'm
let's-
just surprised
let's
because
look at that, because that dog could hunt,
I mean, I
Yeah,
paid
right, Charles?
I paid $585 on a half a car, 2x6 9-foot stud, 104 and 5/8 this morning to Chicago, and I think Greg probably already flipped him with 50 or $60 in trucks in them or something like that.
jeez.
But this is
that
why.
lot-
I'm
is
just-
that good?
I'm just saying this is where people.
Is that good?
This is where when you're at a company and you have 50 traders and the people don't talk to each other, or they have their own mills and stuff. Where we're looking at everything, right? And the Western U.S. species 2x6 8s and 9s are probably still cheap. The 2x4 9s aren't anymore.
Eights
What
are really cheap right now.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll have to take a look at those. But anyway, so what do you guys think going into the end of the week here and next week? What's your feeling on some stuff?
Got a hunch, buy a bunch.
Yeah, Greg
Be
had to tell me
cheap,
to
be busy.
quit buying today. I got some desk wood sitting here.
I'm just kind of like flopping along. You know, I'm not near as committed to the buy side as you guys have been, but I've got a steady stream of product coming. And
Matt.
and I'm just kind of handling it the way I intended to, which is just keep my inventory at a moderate level and manageable. And I'll stay with this market as long as I've got plate opportunities and people calling me wanting product. But you know, if that ever slows down, if the thing decides to give back $50 or whatever, I'm not going to get killed. You know, I'm absolutely not going to load up in June, but I'm not going to go empty either. So I'm just in the middle. I'm like, I'm a
your
5.
market. I mean, like legitimately, July and August are somewhat slower months in Texas for sure, right? I mean, that's historically.
You honestly, dude, you never know what you're going to get down there. You just in any market, really, Colorado, Arizona. I mean, sometimes you get surprised and sometimes you get disappointed. I just don't have a strong feeling one way or the other than I just noticed here in the last 5 or 6 days that the trend seems to be going up, not down. And I agree with what you said about breaking out. I could see the board going up a lot more than $7.50. You know, I think there's some structural issues that we're now going to be dealing with, not to do with freight, but to do with politics and mills being able to run full speed, which I don't think they will be able to. I think there's going to be some loss of production here in this quarter, and I think it's going to be significant. Then you have other things that are affecting our market, like some days the Dow's up 700, some days it's down 500. We've got a war.
Does that
that's
really
going
have
on.
any impact on the market? I mean,
You know, consumer confidence goes up and down like a yo-yo. There's all kinds of weird things happening in the world that we have no control over, but one of them is forest fires. And it's a real threat this year because we got like 40% of the snowpack that we normally do. And so
Ash, are we gonna kill the crop again this year a couple times or what?
Well, but you look at Phoenix and Vegas and those areas, and all I hear about is how tight their water supply is. And you look at that dam outside of Las Vegas, and like you look at the white walls of how it's dropped over the last few years, and they're just not getting. But one interesting thing that I did notice, and maybe Charles has some insight in this too, for the last year or two up to a few months ago, our mills make a bunch of 2x3, and not a lot of people were selling them. Now everybody's selling 2x3, 6, 7, 8, 9 stud grade, 2x4 number 2 and 2x4 stud grade, and 2x6 stud grade number 2, 6, 7s and 8s. They're all going industrial. We talked about this a few months ago. Industrial people can't get the low grade anymore. So they're all going to 2x3 number 2 and stud, and 2x6. We used to be able to buy cars of 2x4 84-inch number 2 at pretty decent. There's up $75 1,000. I mean, what do you guys? What is low grade doing, Matt? Is number three still is tight? That spread is tight.
It's tight. It's hard to buy. It's stable. So, I've been able to buy it. I just can't buy huge volumes of it, and I can't buy all the tallies that I want to buy. So I have to work a little bit harder at it. But it's not unbuyable completely, right? So it's I would just say it's stable with a slight, barely slight upward tilt to it. But the big problem is you run into 2 and better right above it. And so I've been more personally interested in just buying, if I find it, cheap 2 and better, cheap standard better. If there's some other things floating around that has a slightly higher grade stamp on it and it fits my tally needs and my price ideas, then I just buy it and I just dual inventory it.
So if you're buying cars of 2x4 14s to the Southeast or to Texas, what's the spread on that versus number 2?
Virtually nothing, because I already bought a bunch of 2x4 14s number 2 and 1650 at basically the number 3 price. So there's really no spread.
Gotcha.
I guess it's time to go.
Yeah, I got to go. My ADD is kicking my ass.
Just a real quick. I was with Westbury over the weekend, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm on this guy's podcast this week. Hour 120 minutes," and I'm like, going, "Oh my god!" I go, "That's." He's like, "How are you going to talk for that long?"
No doubt. That's crazy.
But then you look at what does Rogan Ash do his? His is 3 hours long, 4 hours.
Yeah,
long?
but have you ever sat there and listened to a whole episode though?
Absolutely not.
I do. I listen to sometimes three of them. They go all night in my sitting next to me.
Yeah, but you're not listening to them. They're just running.
Well, but I'll listen to the whole thing. I'll play it and I'll play it in my car and I just keep listening. If it's a good one, I will. Yeah. I listen to a lot I absorb a lot of podcasts.
I got to go.
All right, guys. Hey, cheers.
All right, boys.
Care.
We'll see you.